Kal halayim la Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai Waha Raha Kwadash. All praises and glory go to you, Lord. Double honors and respect go to our apostles, bishops, elders, and teachers, the men of Great Millstone. To you, I say Shalom. Salutations to the hopefully elect Shabbat Amraya. And today's epistle deals with something very key that you men are going to come across here in this truth associated with Great Millstone. Okay. Today I had the privilege of talking to a brother I have never met before or communicating with him and talking on the phone. Okay. Correspondence. All right. And you'll see this collaboration at some point. Yahweh Ratazah, if it all works through, because there's a bit of vetting that must occur. But we were in agreement about one thing that is true. All right. The truth lies with the men of Great Millstone, starting with Elder Apostle Tahar on down. All right. And we in this truth learned from the men of Great Millstone. And we've seen the false prophets, the other Hebrew Israelites out there teaching their false doctrines, all right, associated with this. But we knew when we heard Great Millstone, we knew the truth, all right? We knew the music. Hence the point of today's lesson. You can do nothing of your own, man. Yahweh Shai understood this. Authority has to come from somewhere. I myself have been teaching for a couple years. I'm a babe in this truth, but even the knowledge I received came from somewhere. I didn't do it on my own. I didn't just wake up one day and know these breakdowns. I learned from the men of Great Millstone, starting with Elder Apostle Tahara on down, right? Which I don't understand how some can come to a point where they, well, sometimes you get rejected, and rejection emotions can fly high. But truth be told, there's an order in everything. And if you keep yourself in order, you will not come into condemnation. All right. Now, let's get into the point of today's epistle. This is John chapter 5, and I'll begin at verse 30. And I'm going to bounce around in this chapter a little bit, but verse 30 is where we'll begin. It says, I can of my own self do nothing. Right. I can of my own self do nothing. And this is in red. This is Yahweh Shai speaking. For those of you who are new to the channel, Yahweh Shai is whom the world calls Jesus. All right. His name in the Paleo Hebrew is Yahweh Shai. That Jesus name is a transliteration that is not even accurate. All right. That is not his name. And he says in the red, verse 30, I can of my own self do nothing. What is he talking about? What he is talking about is the authority that he is executing amongst the Israelites of the day. And at this point, it would have been the southern kingdom for the most part of Israel, the so-called Negroes, Benjamin, Levi, and Judah. Okay? Because the Lord sprang from Judah. All right? The Lord himself would have been considered a so-called Negro. But he is saying, I can of my own self do nothing. So going back up, what is he speaking about? All right? And I'll begin at verse 13 just to give a little context. Verse 18, Salakia. It says, therefore the Jews sought the more to kill him. Kill who? Yahweh Shai. Why? Let's continue reading. Because he not only had broken the Sabbath, but he said also that Yahweh was his father, and Yahweh whom you ignorantly call God, sidebar, making himself equal with Yahweh. All right, so that was considered blasphemous. All right, they wanted to put him to death for blasphemy. And if you ever want to understand why Yahweh Shai was considered blasphemous, it is because he said he was the son of the Most High Yahweh, all right, which the Jews of the time considered you saying you were equal to Yahweh. All right, so they're seeking to put him to death under the guidelines of their law and their, rituals. But the truth is, he told no lies. Continuing on, verse 19, he answered, verily, verily, I say unto you, the Son can do nothing of himself. Why? The authority has to come from somewhere. It has to come from the one who has it. And Yahweh has authority over the Israelites, man. And he gave it to Yahweh Shai. You understand how that works? Let's continue reading. Verily, verily, I say unto you, the Son can do nothing of himself, but what he seeth the Father do. For what things soever he doeth, these also doeth the Son likewise, right? The Son is repeating And the Father gave him authority by training him. All right. He didn't just hand him the keys to the kingdom. He built him up. He is the living word. Okay. He is the law, statutes, and commandments. All right. So that is what Yahushua is. Yahushua have done all things the Father have shown him in order. Verse 20, for the Father loveth the Son and showeth him all things that himself doeth, and he will show him greater works than these, that ye may marvel. Right. And Yahushua gave them some straight up steak right there. They didn't even understand it. But we, having more knowledge than our predecessors, we understand this very well. All right. And how does this pertain to the knowledge you have received in this truth? All right. You have entered other men's labors. You didn't have authority in these breakdowns in this understanding. You had to be shown these things. That's why I don't understand the disrespect. All right. And you may have run across an insincere individual here or there. I've had my suspicions here or there. All right. I'm sure all of us have. But ultimately, Elder Apostle Tahar on down, Apostle Gabar, Apostle, look, we can just keep going through names, but the truth of the matter is, this is where you have learned. This is who gave you authority. And where did they receive authority? They had to receive it from somewhere. And the scriptures are clear. The books have been opened by the Son. And the Son has all authority. You don't believe me? Let's continue reading. Verse 22, for the Father judge of no man, he have committed all judgment onto the Son. The Son has proper training now. The old man took a step back. We don't even deal with the old man until the Son get the whole job done and returns on the second coming. All right. We dealing with the Son right now. All authority goes through the Son, but guess who he have put in authority? That's right. You have entered into other men's labors, and the truth has come out of GreatMillstone. You can call me a bandwagoner. You can say whatever the hell you want. The truth of the matter is, you have entered into the authority that Yahushua have given throughout the earth, and he gave it through the men of GreatMillstone. All right. Starting with Elder Apostle Tahar on down. All right. And this is the knowledge, all right, that the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and North American Indians are the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Scriptures. All right. That Yahushua, whom you ignorantly call Jesus, didn't die for the sins of the entire world as taught by the plantation Christianity. That he did, in fact, die for the sins of the children of Israel as pursuant to Acts chapter 5 and verse 31. Verse 30 and 31. All right. Isaiah 45, that world of Israel that John 3 and 16 speaks of. These secrets have been unveiled. The books were opened by Yahushua, and he opened them to the men of GreatMillstone. All right. And that being said, you can do nothing of your own. All of your authority, if you have learned from GreatMillstone, comes from GreatMillstone. It comes from Yahushua. All right. And if you don't abide in him, if you don't stay in order, you become rebellious, whatever it is, you will find yourself in condemnation. Okay. Let's continue reading because we need to go ahead and close this out. All right. The disrespect that goes towards the apostles, the elders, etc. All right. We knew it would come from the people of the world. They don't want to hear it. 2/3 of the nation of Israel, they slaughtered for destruction. But when someone comes into the truth, learns under the apostles, and then turns on them, it's a special kind of judgment that should go to that shit. Okay. And I'm not the judge. It's just what I feel. Continue reading. Verse 24, verily, verily, I say unto you, he that heareth my word and believeth on him that sent me have everlasting life, right? And shall not come into condemnation, but is passed from death unto life, right? We have believed the report, hoping for salvation from death unto life, from the condemnation that is about to go forth. And it is judgment coming to the world, all right? You have the privilege of knowing this knowledge, this truth, but understand many are called, few are chosen. For that reason, it doesn't mean you're going to make it just because you know there's truth. All right. You can do nothing of your own. That's why you got to stay well rounded, well connected. Don't let this knowledge puff your head up. All right. And what does it continue to say in 1 Corinthians 8:1? It say charity edifieth, love edifieth. All right. And what is love? The fulfillment of the law. All right. If the Lord have called you into this marvelous understanding, take it with all joy. Sometimes you get rebukes and things of this nature. There's no reason to hold grudges, man. Sometimes you might get rejected. All right. But a righteous man may fall 7 times. He's going to get up 8, 9, 10, however many times it takes to get back on his feet. All right. You should be about your father's business. And that means coming in order because verily, verily, Yahweh Shai could do nothing of his own. Right. Authority had to come from him that held it, which was Yahweh. The men of Great Millstone could do nothing of their own. Apostle Tahar, understanding was given to him by the one who held the understanding, which is Yahweh Shai. Huh? All right. Or the men that taught, yeah, that taught Elder Apostle Tahar. Okay. And that process has been respected. The same to me. I learned from the men of Great Millstone, though it wasn't Elder Apostle Tahar directly. It wasn't until later I started learning who the apostles were. But ultimately, I understand that we have entered into those men's labors, right? Calm that ego down, man. Don't let this knowledge puff your head up. And remember one thing key: you can do nothing of your own, all right? If you believe in this truth and stay in order and don't bug out and don't let this knowledge puff your head up, you're looking to be passed from death onto life to receive salvation. That well done, that attaboy from Yahweh Shai, all right, who ultimately is not handing out the authority to any and everybody, all right? And this is what you got to understand. These Jews sought the life of Yahweh Shai, thinking that their law ascended Yahweh's law, that their word ascended Yahweh's word. And it was the exact opposite. And I'm gonna tell you, some of you that are bugged out, your word doesn't exceed the apostles' words. You have done nothing but bring a big red X upon yourself. All right. Anyways, stay well studied, stay under the truth, leave the puff up mind state to the world. All right. Charity edifieth. All right. Continue to do the work. And remember, we can do nothing of our own. All right. And the truth comes out of Great Millstone. Shalom.